our market master today. He's head Equities-PMS at Motilal Oswal Asset Management Company. Manish, good to have you with us here. Thank you very much for your time. It's looking good out there, right? In terms of general commentary, sentiment, flows have been pretty supportive fairly recently. In a way, is that also kind of the hurdle? I put out a piece on Friday based on EPFR data, which says that India is now a consensus overweight market for FPIs. So everyone is bullish, and that sometimes is also the hurdle. How do you think about that?
Yeah, so I think, the consensus trade today is that it's a buy on India. But broadly, markets are going to project what earnings are going to do. And I think for the year ended FY23, we ended with 807. That is 11% sort of a nifty earnings growth. And for next year, it is going to be 15% growth, another 15% growth. So from that point of view, I think, there is fair valuation on the markets. Markets may consolidate a while around these levels, notwithstanding the fact that everybody is bullish on India. Selected sectors are likely to do well. Some of the sectors which have not done well in the last 1.5 to 2 years are likely to outperform, and of course on the back of earnings growth only. So that's how it is. I think it's a bottom-up market. It's a pick and choose market, and it's not going to be a broad brush across the board. But I would think that markets are in for some degree of consolidation, pricing in pause rates in the US as well as in India on it.
Okay, so markets may consolidate around these levels, and this is a bottom-up stock pickers market. Got that. I want to talk about individual themes and what you're bullish on, Manish. But before that, in the next fortnight, there are a lot of central bank action that is coming through, whether it's the RBI policy this week, there's the US FOMC meeting mid-June. Are you expecting anything market moving? I mean, both banks are expected to pause this time around. But from a market standpoint, what would your view be?
Yeah, so 8th of June, RBI is likely to pause rates. Don't expect any hike or cut in rates on 8th of June. And obviously, there is a divided opinion on how the US Fed is going to shape up in, let's say, the June Federal Reserve meeting. And of course, out here also, the consensus seems to be building towards a pause. They've already hiked enough. Of course, oil, there has been now an oil cut by the Saudis, that's going to stoke some inflationary pressures. But I would think at this point in time, it's basically a pause. And from that point of view, I would believe that it's positive equity sentiments across the board. Risk on market is there across globally. So within that space, I would believe, India, which was an underweight market, should likely see some more flows. But broadly, the action is more in the mid and small caps rather than the large caps as a whole. Having said that, I think it's time that smart money takes over, the retail money in terms of the price action in the market.
Hi, Manish. Good morning. Manish, I wanted to focus on a couple of stocks, or, you could speak to us on the sectors as well. The new age themes, I recall you were quite bullish on Zomato. That's played out quite well, right? I mean, that's worked in your favor. But on the flip side, you have Gland Pharma as well. I'm not sure, but I think you'll had some exposure out there. And obviously, you win some, you lose some. What's the outlook on both these two?
So Pharma as a theme, I think I'm a contra buyer across the board. Having said that, yes, there has been disappointment in the earnings of Gland Pharma. But I would believe that it's a classic case of overstocking during COVID times in the previous 2 years. You saw some stupendous numbers come out of broadly all the pharma companies, including Gland. And then when the COVID has subsided, the excess capacity is leading to a lot of inventory in the system, leading to a lot of price competition, all of that, and you're seeing earnings degrowth. And the next cycle of restocking is again going to pick up from FY24 onwards. So from that point of view, valuations of almost all pharma companies, are quite reasonable in the backdrop of cooling RM prices, the building blocks, the KSM prices, as well as action in terms of destocking, in terms of competition getting eliminated, so on and so forth. So for Gland Pharma, I would believe even after earnings cut, it is trading at some 12, 13 times FY25 numbers, and it's a classic injectables player, a lot of portfolio in the pipeline. all the negatives are priced in. So from that point of view, Gland Pharma remains a buy. And so is the case with mostly all the pharma companies, the domestic ones also. We have seen some classic listings also in that space. Plus, API prices, API exports, all the prices have seen the worst which they could have. So clearly, pharma as a space is the one to bet on. In terms of new age companies, yes, Zomato has worked. It's a part of our portfolio. And from that point of view, I think they have really fixed the profitability part of the metrics quite well. Growth is lagging. And I think, the next round of re-rating for the stock would come through once we see growth in the orders. And of course, given the way the management is guiding towards absolute profits come through, ex ESOP charges for the delivery business quite soon. And then Blinkit with its regular cash burn rate would also get factored in terms of how the profitability metrics for the Blinkit business going to shape up towards that 5% EBITDA mark. I think it's a multi-bagger stock. You continue to be quite overweight on this name, and also Paytm for that fact. And I think within the new age, these two new age companies, I think there's still some room on the upside.
Manish, power utilities, is that an overweight sector for you? Capacity over the last couple of years, new capacity has been practically non-existent, right? Power demand, if generally manufacturing, etc., is going to remain buoyant, should be pretty strong. And what are your thoughts and what are your picks if you like that space?
I think there's nothing very, exciting about the thermal part of the business, thermal generation. There's going to be some ordering that is going to come through this fiscal because, demand is really shooting through the roof. But the real excitement is basically in the renewable space. Of course, very few names out here, but, really we want to play through the turbine generator part of the, the power sector as a whole, rather than the utilities per se, and even not so excited about the financiers in the power financing space, we would be rather restricted to auxiliary power or let's say standby power that is coming through in the form of generators or turbines or let's say engines and companies which are really focused on alternate fuels, hydrogen for that matter. So yeah, that is how we did it.
All right, got it. I just want to point out that the auto stocks are doing very well this morning. So you have Tata Motors, which is at a fresh 52-week high as we speak. It is the strongest performer in the auto space this year. It's a rally of 40% that Tata Motors has seen. And it's outperformed the BSE Auto Index, which is up just about 15% for the year. So big moves coming in there. It has M&M for company up about 1.5% and Bajaj Auto, etc., not too far behind. Manish, this is a space that has come into its own, right, after so many years of seeing a lull. Has an investor missed the bus here, or do you think there's more to go?
Yeah, some sort of a rally has already happened in some of these automobile names, but there's still some way to go on the upside, particularly the two-wheeler space, playing on the premiumization theme, and hopefully if monsoon is okay, then it's going to build up on that. And notwithstanding the CV space, which is really some way even from these levels to go before they catch up with the 2018-19 levels, which would make a fresh high. So another 2 years of rally in the CV space is par the course. Of course, it's going to be a soft year for, let's say, PV as a space, but within that, guys who are actually having an electric portfolio or an CNG portfolio, and within that space, obviously, Maruti is one of the players which is actually betting big on CNG. Two new models, Jimny and Fronx, actually coming through. I'm quite excited about the automobile space. We have an overweight stance on this, and not only the OE players, but even the the autocomp and the ancillary manufacturers.
All right, Manish, we'll leave it at that. Thanks a lot for joining in. Appreciate your thoughts here on CNBC-TV18. Have a good week ahead. The bulls are definitely having a strong week. We haven't given up on too much of our gains. The Nifty is still up about 80 odd points. And all the traction is in the banks and autos. So the rate sensitives, they started moving up, a couple of months ago rather. And now the rate sensitives are sort of ruling the roost. The bank Nifty is up to 65 points. And so is the case with a couple of others. Let's get you an exclusive conversation with the management of IGL. Now, Q4 was an operational miss for the company, but the volumes were up. And while EBITDA per SCM also came in line with estimates, they've given a guidance of FY24 EBITDA per SCM between 7.5 to 8 rupees. But let's find out what the overall trend is. Sanjay